What's up, guys? Coach Monetti here, and this week I want to talk about motivation. Mastering motivation and consistency, really, because motivation is not something that I would recommend you rely on. We're all waiting to be motivated. We're all waiting for a spark of something to ignite momentum to get us moving toward our goals, right? What's motivating us? And the truth of the matter is motivation is BS. Motivation is not something you can rely on. It's very fleeting, meaning there's times in your life and opportunities in your life, seasons of life where you feel very ambitious and you're motivated toward a goal. Science will tell us that there's two ways or two things that motivate us, right? Toward pleasure, something that we know is going to give us a feeling of happiness, euphoria, and fulfillment. We're happy, we want to move toward this, or we're moving away from fear. What motivates us? That's the fight or flight kind of concept or theory. And really, when it comes down to fitness and nutrition and all this stuff, getting yourself to a different level and transforming your body is really what we are focusing on. And body, I mean mind and body. If you're relying on motivation, it's not going to be getting you closer to your goals. So today I want to talk about that and how discipline is really, and I know it's been talked about a lot and everybody hears how important discipline is, but discipline, and really I'm going to break down how to become more disciplined, because that's really what builds consistency, and that's really what enables you to get closer to your goals and accomplish your goals. So this discipline is doing things that you need to do in order to get to where you want to be, right? That's discipline. Doing them regardless of how you feel. Motivation is a feeling. I'm motivated right now. So, and again, I there's a scale, right? You don't want to. I don't think it's healthy to be so far in one direction where you're so disciplined that you're so stone-like and you don't have, any kind of variables in your life or any kind of, excitement or spontaneity in your life. Discipline is a sliding scale, right? But discipline, when it comes down to doing the things that are needed to get to your goal, well, that's how you can build habits around. And some people come through our doors, and some clients in the past were like, I'm not disciplined to do that. And you're just disciplined, meaning me. And maybe I'm more disciplined, but it doesn't have to be difficult. If you create habits around your goals, then those habits are what create the discipline, really. And then habits are something that you do. When you think about being disciplined, I feel like discipline is more like a harsher term, a more aggressive term, when really habits is a softer way to say my habits are what's going to dictate my results. So that's where discipline can overpower the motivation feeling or the lack of, right? So speaking on that motivation word, I think it should be momentum that you're building. I'm not recording any of this right now. The microphone is off on here, but luckily I have one right here. That's wild. So I've been talking for the past 10 minutes without anything being heard. So I'll do a recap really quick. We're talking today about mastering motivation and consistency, and how if you're waiting for the feeling of motivation, if you're waiting to be motivated, if you only rely on motivation, there's a great chance, and probably a zero chance that you're going to get to your goals, because motivation is very fleeting. And that's what I was just diving into a little bit before I hit that record button over here. Motivation is fleeting, but if you have some discipline in your life, and I don't mean discipline like old school Catholic school writing left-handed discipline, ruler to the hand or the back of the head discipline. I mean discipline in the sense where you're building habits, healthy habits that support your goals, and you get better and better at doing those habits because they're habitual. It's a routine. That is what builds momentum, and that's what creates the discipline. It's all lumped up into your habits, right? So habits are a softer term for discipline, I feel. People say that I'm very disciplined. Yes, I've competed in many bodybuilding competitions, and I've, set my goals on accomplishing something, and I did the things necessary to get there, regardless of how I felt, which I was just tapping into before I hit that record button. But what's what I'm looking for? The emotions of motivation and the habits of discipline, and how the discipline overpowers the motivation. Wow, I completely lost my train of thought right there. But there's two things that motivate us, whether we're moving toward pleasure or we're motivated to move away, that's driving us away from fear, right? That's what the smart people say about what motivates us and what motivation really means on a scientific internal way. Like what really is driving these emotions one way or the other. And you can go deeper into, childhood or family of origin, and just see, how what motivates you differently as you get older. You can usually, backtrack it to something that happened early on, or how you were brought up by mother, father, teacher, preacher, things that control us, things that control our adulthood, obviously come from when we were growing up and learning these things as little people. But moving away from fear, right? Fight or flight, or moving towards pleasure. What is motivating us? So motivation for me, what keeps me motivated right now is the why behind why I started this whole challenge. And I think that could be something that we, use as a trigger for motivation, or a trigger to keep us doing the things that we need to do in order to get to where we want to be. We need something that's going to drive us regardless of how we're feeling, because many days I don't feel like working out, or I don't feel like doing things. I'm naturally a lazy fat kid who wants to, sleep in and not be active. Naturally, I feel like, and if I let it, that's what I'm going to do. But, waking up, I know that I'm going to feel better getting up and having a workout in, or doing my workout first thing in the morning. I'm going to feel better as I, track my food. I'm going to feel better and know that at the end of the week, I did all the things that I needed to do in order to get to my goal, regardless of how I felt about it. So my motivation is how I'm going to feel. So I'm not moving away from fear necessarily, but I'm moving toward the fact that I feel better when I do X, Y, Z. So I'm more likely to do X, Y, Z because I want to feel like that. So when I'm in the moment, it may not feel the best, right? But I want to get toward that, and I know that I need to do this. Really not that complicated. So yeah, that would be the internal motivation that drives you, your why, to do the things necessary. And that's something that I can't really I can only explain how I do it, and I can share some knowledge and insight as to maybe what you can do. But that's up to you to figure out what your why is. Do you want to feel like shit? I mean, I know that if I don't work out, and if I don't do at least 4 weight training sessions per week, then I don't feel like that best at the end of the week. I feel like softer. I just don't feel like I accomplished much. And there's a good chance that if my workouts weren't checked off, then my diet was probably not the best either, or maybe not enough, protein or something they go together, right? So yeah, it's time for some story time. Before I talk about that, I want to talk about, I have a little note over here, that's why my eyes keep going over here. Consistency over intensity. And we were talking about consistency a little earlier, about how the habits that you you establish are what create consistent work, whatever it is, tasks that get you to your goal, right? It's not the motivation, it's the habits that you build, and how good you get at those habits, how consistent you are with those habits will get you to your goal. Now, a lot of people think when they start off, and I've seen it, over almost 3 decades of doing this, people start off with too much intensity, and they want to do too much in the beginning, and they're really motivated. So high level motivation, not a lot of skill, but they just act and they just do. Very motivated, and that's good sometimes, right? Some things you gotta ready, fire, aim. Sometimes you don't have to be fully prepared for. You just have to dive in, right? But as motivation is really high and skills really low, now motivation is gonna drop down because we know motivation doesn't last, and your skill may go up a little bit, but at somewhere point in time, like you're gonna have a little bit of skill, and you're gonna have a little bit of motivation, and are you going to have enough to get you to that next level so you can keep on learning, and even while motivation is low, you're going to keep on getting better at that thing, whatever it is. This situation, I'm always talking about transforming your body and your mind and elevating your life. That's what I speak about. That's my message. So what keeps you, on the scale going up with knowledge and learning and getting better? And I think it's lowering down your intensity a little bit. And yes, when the motivation is really high, you want to do more, right? But understanding that it's not always going to be there. And I think if you just started off maybe like, I'm just going to start X, whatever it is. I'm just going to do 10 minutes of walking every day, no matter what. I'm just going to do this. And you start habit stacking, and then those habits become more intense, or they become more of a commitment. But in the beginning, you're looking to build small habits that are easily sustainable in order for you to do them, in order for you to build habits, in order for you to stack them, in order for you to get better at them, in order for you to get closer to your goals. So back off the intensity a little bit, back off the all or nothing mentality a little bit, and maybe do something is better than nothing for a little while. And then don't get me wrong, at some point, you're going to have to change that, and you're going to have to do more, because if you always keep that, something is better than nothing mentality, well, now you should be progressing on that, doing more or getting better at that, but you're just kind of staying, I'm doing something. Yes, you are doing something, but there's levels to this, and I think that you should be wanting to do more, and you should be wanting to, I shouldn't say wanting to do more, because this is where the nuances come into play. This is the art of it, knowing thyself and knowing and being self-aware, to knowing when to go hard and knowing when to go, to back off a little bit. But I digress. Consistency over intensity. Don't try to go all or nothing balls out and then not be able to sustain that, because that's what's going to bring you, into this roller coaster, right? So start with something that you can sustain. Be confident with it, build a couple wins, and then once you feel comfortable, you can start doing different things that add to that. But by starting off too quickly, and that's what happens a lot January, everybody's gung-ho, boom, January 1st, that's it, last drink, December 31st, not having it anymore for the whole year. I'm going to commit myself, I'm going to lose this 25 pounds, 30 pounds, 50 pounds, whatever your goal is. I'm going to do this, I'm going to save this amount of money, whatever your goals are for the year. Typically it's lose weight, earn more money, save more money. Those are just the top quick resolutions that are very, very common. Whatever it is, you go too hard in the beginning and you can't sustain it. Motivation runs out. You don't have the willpower or the discipline or the habits to keep it going. So you kind of just, and then you get motivated again. You hit rock bottom again. So you go back and you kind of just have this roller coaster, right? So you can get more done by doing less. I'm gonna leave that at there. Leave that right there for you to unpack. But let's keep it moving. So I remember prepping for my first bodybuilding competition, and that's just where bodybuilding is how I established my disciplined habits and my healthy eating habits, and how I established my my fitness life, it's through bodybuilding. That's really the first sport that captivated me, and I was more interested in everything that it entailed, right? Football was fun. I liked to hit people. Wasn't really good with learning my plays, so I didn't really study. So I was, never really doing the right play. But I loved to hit. I was athletic, strong. Coaches wanted me to do good, but I just didn't have the mindset for it. I wasn't really into it. So all the sports, I was the same thing. I loved playing team sports, I loved baseball, but bodybuilding, it was different. It was bodybuilding. It wasn't just on the field. It wasn't just during practice. It was like a 24-hour thing that I had to do, right? I had to worry about my food 12 hours a day or whatever. My meals had to be structured. My diet had to be calculated. It was just more calculated. For me, it was more of a challenge or more engaging than just playing a sport for a team or whatever. So my first bodybuilding competition, I really learned what motivation and discipline and how they where they meet, and if they do meet, they do, but discipline is overpowering. Anyway, my first bodybuilding competition, back when bodybuilding wasn't as common as it is today. Now, somebody at least knows somebody who has competed, or a friend or a cousin or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Somebody knows somebody who is a competitor. Back 1995, I know it's not that long ago, but back 1995, my first competition, it wasn't very common for me to walk around in a high school with Tupperware eating chicken and a baked potato with mustard on it and a gallon of water. That was like, this dude's weirdo, right? But my body was changing, and I was committed, and I was motivated. Until like 45 minutes of cardio before school started, and then tried to get some weight training done after school, at night when I had no energy. Most of the time I was just going through the motions. Most of the time I wasn't really, having a lot of intensity because I was just drained and shot. I was not eating a lot of food. Cardio in the morning before school, and then cardio, weight training in the afternoon. Didn't have a lot of energy, but I talked earlier about the why, right? I learned quickly on that like my motivation wasn't going to always be there, but something had to drive me to do the things, because for me, that particular year, I talked about the why. That year, the why was everybody knew I was doing this in my high school graduation class. I started prepping, earlier in the year, and then by June I was ready for the stage. Maybe March or April I started, and then June, July I was competing. So we graduated in June. By July I was on stage. Everybody in my high school class knew that I was competing, and like I said, back then it was not really a common thing. So a lot of people doubted me, and shit, at some point I doubted myself, but I wanted to prove to myself, and I wanted to prove, yes, to myself, but I wanted to prove to them that like I was committed to this and I was actually going to do it. And that's what drove me to do the things necessary, even when I didn't feel like it, because I really didn't feel like it. 99% of the time I didn't feel like it back then. No, I would say 99, maybe like 80% of the time. After the first couple of weeks, when I dropped some weight and I started feeling good, and I was like, oh shit, I got to do this for the rest of the 3 months. Like it was a lot. So my point is, I learned quickly on how discipline was really what was going to set the tone for my success and not being motivated. So this week, I want to challenge you to focus on one small habit. I don't care what it is, whether it's, this challenge we're doing here in the community is, get your 3 to 4 weight training sessions in, get at least 10 to 15 minutes of something in on the other days, whether it's a walk, a hike, something. Get some kind of activity in, stretch, yoga, not meditation, because that's not physical, but some kind of physical activity. Doesn't have to be a long marathon of a workout, but doing something every day of the week, and on 3 to 4 days, get your weight training sessions in. So today, or this week, I want to challenge you to find something. Let's build the consistency muscle. Find something that you can commit to. It could be a very small habit. I don't care what it is. Pick something. I don't care. I gave you some options, but pick something and stick to it for the whole entire week. I challenge you to do that. And remember, it's not all about feeling motivated. It's about creating habits that you can sustain to create the discipline to overpower the motivation when motivation subsides. That's all I got. You got this. Believe in yourself, trust the process, practice patience, take pride in your reps. And I'll see you on the gym floor. If you have any questions, comments, drop them in here. And I'll see you later. Peace. You like, share, subscribe. Let me know in the comments. Yeah, I'm back, man. This is my new office. Got my medals hanging up here a little bit. I'm going to start decorating the office. This was last time I was really consistent with creating these videos. The office was part of my project. Now the office is done. I'm not much of a carpenter, but I made it work and I figured shit out. And here we are, and the podcast is back. And yeah, I'm on a mission. Peace.